festival. You are listening to SGFR, podcast radio for the festival. Now broadcasting highlights and top picks, your tasty, tantalizing tease for this coming year.
Ciaran, it is a delight, a pleasure to have you here with me in the interview suite, which of course is a fake thing because we're all actually talking across Zoom. But, you know, all three of our listeners like to pretend that we're in some sort of glorious studio, which is high tech and, yeah, has lots of what are known as FLUs.
What? Sorry?
FLUs. FLUs apparently stands for flashing light units or flashy light units.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I nicked that from Stargate.
I'd like to imagine that as well.
Yes. Well, we're surrounded by FLUs and lots of high-tech reels and stuff like that. And I understand that you have been lured into or you have voluntarily offered to run some sort of amazing mini mega game for this year's Strange Games Festival. Is that right, Ciaran? Or are we going to have a really embarrassing, awkward conversation about the festival without you doing anything?
No, I think both of the first two are correct in that I was made to do it and made to feel like it was my own idea as well.
That's impressive. How much of it is your idea and what is it? I've got notes here saying that you might be doing Heist or Den of Wolves.
You can credit it all to, originally it's Den of Wolves in short. So you can credit that to the designer, which is John Mizon. And then the actual version of it I'm running is one done by somebody called John Keyworth. And that is called Den of Wolves New Eden. And it is a smaller version of the game, which runs with 20, but we could also do it with as few as 8. So I'm hoping we'll get good enough numbers to have all the positions on the ships manned.
Right. That actually answers one of my questions, how many people are involved, but it also tantalizingly starts to answer my other question, because I'm not familiar with Den of Wolves, and I do know, because you've mentioned it, that it's on board a ship of some kind.
So if you've seen Battle-Star-Galactica,
yes,
then understanding Den of Wolves is incredibly easy because it's basically a large-scale role-playing game where you play the survivors on Battle-Star-Galactica's fleet.
Oh, excellent. Do you divide up by departments? So you have engineering for the military forces, the flight crew, logistics, and the political stuff?
So that's where it varies from the formula of the Battle-Star-Galactica story slightly, insofar as it is a fleet.
Yeah.
And as with all good mega games, I'm coming to realize what is really critical to the design of them is that the player's compartmentalized. And so you have each group, each table, if you like, is a ship.
Yeah.
All forming one fleet. And so they all have their own resources and their own knowledge and their own agenda, but they all come together with the sole purpose of survive the day or the 4 hours or 8 turns, however you look at it.
I love the sound of this. It sounds fantastic. Do you have any wild, dangerous ships in there, like a prisoner ship?
So you actually don't have a prisoner ship in New Eden. You do have a prisoner ship in the larger version of the game, which I'm running alongside Strange Games in Brighton. In October. And that has a prison ship, which is a problem. If you decide to short staff your prison ship, it can revolt. There's actually the difference between so there are less ships in New Eden, but what there is, and I think what makes it a more suitable candidate for Strange Games Festival is it is more board gamey than the larger game. The larger game is more of an emphasis on role playing. The smaller game, each person is going to be, each team and each person, they're going to be given their own rule sheet of like, what can I do? What can I do on this vessel or in this shuttle? And then they work, and those rules are they're much more explicit than they are in the larger game where it's more freeform. And so it's about negotiating the chances and the resources and the options that those different cards give people.
What's the win condition? Is it a group effort? Does the fleet have to survive, or can there be only one and you have to be masters of all?
So I mean, mega games I think are interesting, and I think they're best when they don't have a win condition. Insofar as it's more about telling a story through the day. So it's most comparable in that way to a role-playing game. You know, people will very easily engage with a narrative goal rather than a quantitative goal, if you like. You know, they're very easily lured by something like survive the day, or, you know, rescue somebody or whatever, and they'll act on that. I think with New Eden there's going to be more specifics there, because it is more particular in its rules, and it has more specific rules than the larger game. But the main point, I think, of any mega game and this game is that people are describing a narrative. There's probably going to be a lot of fun to be had in the entire ship crashing and burning, by the entire fleet crashing and burning by the end of the day.
Yeah.
I imagine that would be a wonderful experience for people, but they're not aiming at that. They're aiming at surviving. And that's your main job on each ship, is that you have to make sure that your ship survives the 8 turns. And there's numerous things that are there that risk that.
Now, I'm aware from the TV series, the reimagined one, although I am old enough to have watched the 70s one as well, that there's an interrelationship between ships. For example, there's the Tillian refueling ship and various manufacturing things. Is that kind of a relationship running in New Eden as well?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So each it's in New Eden and in the larger game, what New Eden does is it boils it down to each ship being from a nation.
Yes.
And it might be a nation, or it may be a conglomerate that's come together to represent a number of different nations, you know, much like the UN, for example.
Yeah.
And so each ship has this allegiance with this. And then in the larger game, several ships belong to each nation, but in New Eden, each ship is from that nation. And so as a result, in your particular ship, you might have 2 or 3 players. I think it's 2 for the most part. And so you and the other person with you are going to work together to try and make sure you meet the agendas of your ship and therefore your nation.
What is the non-intellectual property infringing baddie in the scenario? Or
so the storyline, which is the backstory is that Earth is part of a wider network of societies on different planets and different systems some way into the future, and one of those drifts apart from all the others, and that's the Wolf Nation, hence the name Den of Wolves. And then there is this event, which is the attack, in which the Wolf Nation effectively launches an attack that knocks out everything, and much like in Battle-Star-Galactica, takes over large portions of the systems, and really all that's left is like this little Noah's Ark of survivors that takes flight. So the backdrop of the game is that you're being hounded by wolf vessels, and through the day you have to negotiate attacks from the wolf vessels. So a huge part of the day is deciding when you're going to jump. That's something that each ship has to individually prepare for, have the fuel for, hopefully have not been shot by wolf ships, and know the coordinates for, that have been correctly said between the ships. And assuming all of those things have gone well, everybody turns up at the same place.
That's a massive assumption. Yeah. Is it possible to get lost then?
Yes, very much. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're playing a solo game trying to...
Well, you could get lost, or you could, I mean, you'll be with your partner or your team on your ship, but what you might find is that you are, because each time you jump, there's a tracker. It's much more sort of specific in New Eden. There's like a tracker, which is your distance from the wolf fleet. And obviously jumping extends that. And if you don't make that jump, you are not further from them, and therefore you are first in line for the next attack.
Right. Yes, you can feel them breathing down your neck.
Yes, yeah.
Does that mean, I have to ask this because one of the fantastic things about the host Cylon thing is they look like us now. Is there a traitor element in Den of Wolves New Eden?
If there was, and I said that,
Good.
that
Yes.
ruined something.
Yeah, you can neither confirm or deny that there may or may not. Is this
I
what you're
mean,
saying?
what I can say is that there are absolutely problems that will occur throughout the day.
That's all you really
And
need to say, I think.
yes, yeah, the fleet will have to manage. Yeah.
Yes, our natural paranoia will do the rest.
Yes, I mean that might the threat might just be the risk of infiltrators, but I can say there's a range of problems that the fleet will have to overcome.
You got a lot of experience doing this thing because you're running one in. You say you're running one of the bigger games in October.
Yeah, so I have a company called Get Questing that does work alongside, or has done work and is doing work alongside Strange Games. And my thing is social, what I would term social games, although that term is muddied by Facebook games of 15 years ago or 10 years ago, but is really games that involve interactions. So basically small to large scale role-playing games. When it comes to role-playing games, yes, I have heaps of experience there. I'm freshly breaking into the world of running much larger scale games. Heist is another mega game which I ran quite recently in a theatre. That's for 10 people, and that's also by John Mizon, who wrote the original Den of Wolves, and that's fantastic. That was an absolutely wonderful thing to do.
Is there somewhere people can go to, especially once they get excited by our conversation, to go and enroll on that for that?
Yes, that's going to be advertised, or tickets are going to be purchasable on the Strange Games website.
Good.
So that's the best place you can go for that. And then, slightly confusingly, we've got a fleet list that's going to be on the Get Questing website, which will show who's in what ship. But those two pages should be linked back to back, so people can see or choose, or not specifically choose, but they can say, we're interested in taking this ship or these roles or this part of this ship. Yeah. So, but the best place to go is the Strange Games website. Yeah.
Though you did mention there's a Get Questing website. Is that useful for more information?
Yeah, that's my own company, and yeah, that's where you'll see the full fleet, and there's a link there through to Strange Games where you can purchase the tickets as well.
May I ask you to name drop the URL for Get Questing?
Yeah, sure. Yes, that's Get Questing. So so literally Get Questing, all one word. .co.uk.
Lovely, simple.
Yeah, I suppose I feel like large scale role playing games are just such a joy, and they're so much fun for people to take part in, and I feel they're very little known about, and they're quite hard to access. So it's something I'd love to help change.
Ciaran, that's great. I really look forward to you running the game. I suspect you're going to suddenly find that you have no spaces left, judging by how popular they are.
Yes, I hope so. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being, as with all role-playing games, being surprised by what the players ended up doing.
Ciaran, thank you very much. It's a joy chatting to you. I really look forward to Den of Wolves.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Andy. It's been a fun conversation. Yeah.
You've been listening to SGFR, the podcast radio channel for the Strange Games Festival.
This season's hosts have been James, Laura, Andy, and Craig.
And if you'd like to come on the show, message us on the festival radio channel on the Strange Games Festival Discord server.